Hello everyone, welcome to Chasing a Murder. Today we are on part 98 of Life Beyond the Grave, the Lori Vallow case. We left off where several of Lori's little followers like Christina, Zulema, Melanie Gibb are all feeling as if they're gaining powers, new gifts, and these are coming from the heavenly beings and God himself. Christina's even talked to Chad Daybell a little bit too often property in Rexburg itself. She's made her way onto this little podcast group that belongs to Chad and Lori. I guess you could say that. But is Jason Mal truly part of that team? One thing we learned is that Lori is not happy about the fact that Christina's made her way into that group. And it doesn't seem that Christina is really aware that Lori is not liking her very much, at least during this part of the timeline. But Christina seems very excited to use her skill, her gifts, with this group of people who also have the same gifts. In an interview with police on April 29th of 2021, Zulema Palestines actually shares some of the information, or it gives us a glimpse into what they're thinking around this timeline. And she blames Lori for all of them feeling special and starting to believe this idea that they can build this church at the firstborn and that they can gain such amazing gifts. Did Lori truly manipulate using her narcissist skills, her manipulation skills, to convince these guys that they were as special as she says?
One of the things that they started saying to me from the beginning was that putting me in a position of being so special. Like Lori and Chad used to say to me often, your mission is the most important one. We have to take care of you more than we have to take care of anyone else, because your mission is most important and more important than anybody else's. They always said that to me from the beginning. And it was, Lori would say that sometimes when we would just get together, she would, say that, oh, everybody has to, make sure that you're praying and taking care of Zulema, because her mission is the most important.
Zulema seems to be very embarrassed in mentioning this, but also relieved to kind of pin the blame for her gullibleness or her naiveness on someone else. She looks back in that timeline and says, it's hard to believe how I could basically believe that I was that important. But she truly did, and she truly got into it, as we know after reading her text. Around the same time that Zulema was interviewed, Christina Atwood was also interviewed, and she gave us a glimpse into her ideas. Now remember, Christina believes that she has a direct contact with Jesus Christ and other deities in heaven, and that she can seek her own answers just like they can. Now, I had trouble, for lack of time really, there's so many people involved in this case, to kind of pin her exact time that she's kicked out of this group. But she kind of gives us an idea here, and she seems to have trouble pinning down that exact time as well. Christina also gives us a glimpse into some of these zombie gatherings or zombie castings.
So the last time I gathered with them was probably a month later. I think I only saw the group of ladies one other time altogether. And the second time was at Alex's house. And she was, sharing some of her wild ideas. We had done some scripture study and stuff first, and then she had kind of some wild ideas about the idea of her husband being possessed. And her concern that Tylee was also had these dark spirits that were trying to control her.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit. So when did you first hear that Charles was possessed? Or do you remember?
I think it was probably that first night that I met all the ladies.
Do you remember what night that was? A date by chance? Nothing just exciting, right?
Serena will know because she flew here.
Okay.
So whenever that was, that weekend.
Okay.
And it was in this, I think it was spring, February, March.
And this was at whose house?
Zulema's.
So we're talking about the same meeting that we did?
Yeah.
Just, okay.
Yeah, the first time I met all the ladies. Okay. I think that's the first time that I heard that she was feeling that way. So then the second time we all met, it wasn't everybody. We had Serena called in from Connecticut. We did like a little Zoom meeting kind of thing. And then the third time was back at Zulema's house, and that's the first time I met Alex.
Okay.
And that's the time that I visited with the police officer about. So she asked all of us to come praying and fasting for her and her family. So we came.
Lori's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Serena's jumping a little bit ahead right there to the summer, so we're going to stop. Again, we're going to jump back and refer to Melanie Gibb's interview with police, how she describes how the zombie castings began and how they started bringing in elements. And not only that, how Lori started to kind of dislike people and she begins shunning people like Christina Atwood.
Like I just did like mine, I just talked about Jesus, right? But theirs was, one was over fire elements or something, wind, fire, earth. I don't know, just they came up with some funky words. And not that they were horrible words, they were just not usual, putting them together in a sentence kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. It's very unusual. So yeah, they did that a few times on the phone. And then she just kind of, Dolores just kind of got tired of dealing with them. She's like, oh, this person talks too much. She'd get irritated with people. Like, I think she was always jealous anyway. So yeah, that was on the phone. And I don't know how many times, but I'd say a handful. Maybe they tried it maybe 2 or 3 times. Maybe, I don't know. And then one time, okay, so you know the house she moved in the first time, Alex's house, right after she left Charles the first time? Mm-hmm. She went to Alex's house for a while. She had Serena on the phone, and Melanie was new to it, and she really didn't know what was going on. So it was the first time Melanie was exposed to it. And I remember we were holding hands, and I remember she said, my hands got really hot and they got really cold. I was like, okay, not my experience, right? And then Serena kind of related to that. They were talking on the phone. And that was the night she came up with this idea, this map thing of zombies in the world. Arizona, Utah, Idaho, da-da-da-da-da. And then she's like, okay, Chad says, and she'd be on the phone, how many zombies in this state?
She called him by name, Chad.
I knew she was talking to him.
How'd you know he was talking to him?
Well, I just did. I just did. I mean, I don't know. I knew it. I'm sure she did, but I just know she was talking to him. Who else was she going to get this information from?
So you can hear Melanie Gibb kind of leading the story, and the cops are figuring out the way she wants the story to go. And she had already thought this through, and the cop was intelligent enough to call her out and say, you called him by name, and that put her on the spot real quick. So remember Strahd, we have mentioned him multiple times. He had mentioned that you can do these things not only in person, but you can do these things over the phone. And this is something that Lori's taken to quite well. This is something that all of them have admitted that they are doing. So they're doing castings over the phone. They're doing prayers over the phone, blessings, you name it. Lori's life's been completely consumed by all of these crazy beliefs and practices that she's actually developing and growing. Then let's listen a little bit more, and you can hear where Melanie, we might have listened to this before, I don't know, where she kind of starts acting like this immature teenager because she knew she got caught. She's embarrassed.
Who else was she going to get this information from? No, she was into him. She was way into Chad. She was infatuated with him big time. There was nobody else she could ever talk to about it. Nobody else could have given her that information. Nobody. I guarantee it was nobody else. I just know it was him only, because who else is she going to call? She doesn't know anybody that talks like Chad. She didn't know anybody. She wasn't friends with these podcasters. She didn't even know Julie Rowe. She never met her. Yeah. So, anyway, and I could have maybe possibly heard his voice if she had a speaker sometime. I'm sure that happened at times. So I knew it was them talking. And I probably, she was on the phone a lot, in the car a lot. She was talking to him. And I just knew she was talking to him. And so, anyway, he would say, okay, there's, I don't know, grab a number, 100 in this state, something in this state, and then throughout the whole world. And so he got this, these people, or these entities are in other people's bodies. So her idea was, it was for her to get rid of the zombies. The idea was for her thought she had the power to cast out, she'd say in the name of whatever, and with her power. And then he would check, oh, there's none left in the state, So anyway, that's how she did it. So anyway, I remember that conversation was kind of going on that night. And then, I don't know the heck they were talking about that night. I don't know who, I'm sure it was Charles. And I think it was probably for the world too. It probably was. And anyway, everybody was just holding hands. And anyway, they all said their little, whatever they could come up with, they think of that would help encourage this spirit to leave, or encourage them. And it wasn't done it didn't seem like it was done out of any unkindness or anything like that. It was just a matter of, like, if you were to invite somebody to leave. I think they started using different weapons that had light in them to help that encourage that spirit to come out of the body by those words. But it had no power. So I haven't worried about it since I've left Lori. I was like, she didn't have any power. She can't hurt me. I'm not worried about her. So obviously I didn't believe in it to the level of worrying about my life, right?
So here, Melanie Gibb gives you a glimpse that she was worried about threats Lori given with these weapons and gifts that she was carrying. So it's hard to make out whether this was the entire time, but at some point she was scared of Lori's threats, or she realized other people were. That's important. This is the biggest clue I've ever had, where you hear the threats are coming in, until Aubrey was on the stand, and we'll do that later. So here, obviously, Melanie Gibb had no worries with Lori Vallow. She was in. She's not one of the girls that Lori is saying is talking too much, or maybe stood the wrong way. Who knows? In fact, it seems to me, and this is my opinion based off of what we know now, that Melanie Gibb might be in with Lori on this little gossip session and drama. And we had learned that she was part of that with Charles Vallow. So why would Melanie Gibb have to worry about anything? Because she's not been on Lori's bad side the entire time. But it's obvious in this interview that she loses her mind. She's so nervous and so scared when she realizes that these cops aren't as dumb as she thought they would be. She knows now that they realize that she knows a lot more than she's sharing. The investigator leads Melanie Gibb to help him understand how the castings work, about these dark spirits that are possessing Charles' body, Tylee's body, and bodies all over the United States and the world. Let's listen in.
Spirits, in order for the spirit to be taken out of the body, it has to be cast out. However, if that body or the spirit in that body is a certain darkness, just casting them out doesn't prevent it
from coming back out.
From coming.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's certain ways that that body can be destroyed.
Body or the spirit?
Or spirit.
I don't know if it can be destroyed.
The spirit?
I don't know if they can be destroyed. I don't like the Father destroys spirits.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not saying they believe that. I'm just saying you and I personally, I don't think they can be destroyed.
When we talk about this, I'm trying to...
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to dive into their world.
Okay, their world. Sorry, because you're
right.
sharing personal, so okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think that they thought they could destroy them either, though. they were just trying to get them to the point where, I don't know.
I had a dark spirit in a body.
Yeah.
I mean, a dark spirit.
Yeah.
And that.
Pause a second here. So what he's trying to do is not put words into her mouth, but also lead her to give him the answers he's looking for. In other words, I can tell that he's wanting to tell him what they said about the bodies once the evil is cast out.
Yeah.
I mean, a dark spirit.
Yeah.
And that body, or excuse me, that spirit is cast out of that body. What enters that body next? Can it be a light spirit or can it be a dark spirit?
Oh, so that did occur with Charles, they said. So, okay, this was the first thing, is they were trying to cast out normal, like casting out, right? Mm-hmm. But they said, oh, no, it's still in there. Chad would deem it's still in there. We can't get them out. They're breaking eternal law, right? This is what we're saying.
Okay.
They cast his personal spirit out and put a new one in. So then they finally said, we got him out finally. Through our priesthood powers, we got him out. Now, it was the next one. Garrett was the next one that came into Charles. And this was supposed to be a more advanced, darker spirit.
Okay, so
according to them.
If the body keeps receiving dark spirit,
Yeah.
Does that body have to be destroyed?
Oh, no. See, they were learning. It was never figured out. This was Chad pretending more and more along the way. It's my opinion now. It's like he was just like, okay, that didn't work, but what can I come up with to keep Lori happy, right? And let me just figure this out and come up with. I don't know if he even played all the way through, because Lori was so pushy about being with him, and I think he was so infatuated, which you and I both know he was with her. I think he just got more creative in his darkness, and I think it just went on line by line by line. I don't think. That's my feeling. I could be wrong. Maybe he had the whole. Some people say, a writer, knows the end of it. I don't know.
All right, so let me ask you this then. With these castings, we know that, or I think we know, it was with Charles. They tried casting Charles.
Yeah.
They, at one point, tried casting Brandon.
We're going to pause there because they're jumping too far ahead. In this interview, Melanie will say that she liked Charles. She wasn't against anyone, but she was certainly helping turn their lives upside down, so that makes no sense. Investigators know that at these castings that each one of these women were given a gift by Lori. They keep trying to get her to open up about that, but she refuses to be honest.
Nobody really had a gift until they stepped. It seems like they had a gift all of a sudden when they stepped into the circle. Does that make sense? Like, there was no gift outside of it, except for Zulema. Zulema seemed to be the one that had the gift of moving the earth, because she seemed the visionary stuff. She could see, so she was the only one I knew of that had that kind of gift.
Do you remember Lori giving anybody assignments? Okay, you be water, you be fire.
Yeah, a little bit. And she started to learn it more, but that probably backed off after a while, because she stopped. Like I said, she got rid of some people in the dirt. So then it kind of just branched off to her and Lori would do a lot of it on their own in the temple. And I'd come and see them in the temple later. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she's like, oh, we just were talking about how to, do this and da-da-da-da.
Zulema, Lori?
What?
Who? Lori and who?
Zulema. So they'd be in the temple doing it sometimes. And they would just do it like they'd sit beside each other and just hold hands or something like that. Like, nobody could really tell what they're doing. And they would talk about, I'd see them talking, and then they would just close their eyes and then think that they could do something like leave their bodies, And I've heard people do weird stuff like that. Like, it happens to people. I don't know. I've never had those experiences. But anyway, so somebody would do something about water, and I can't remember the words. They were so different. Sorry, I'm trying. Crystals or whatever, and I'm trying to remember Nicole and Christina. Like, what was that?
That's okay. So,
I don't really remember.
So you guys go around the circle. Each person says their part, right?
Yeah.
And then it comes back to Lori.
Most likely.
And how does Lori close it? Like, how do you guys get done with the casting?
She would invite the spirit to come out of the body, and I think a few times, if I remember now. It's so long since I thought about this. Zulema, they would try to, what's the right word, seal it up or something like that. Seal it.
Like sealing me,
Like the sealing, yeah. Like try to seal it where they could that light energy that was going into them that would cause that evil spirit go, okay, I'm gonna leave now. So they were trying to invite it to leave now. And she just talked to, I think at the end she would just try to seal that up and try to think she had the power to talk it out of leaving the body.
And that's something you believed in at the time?
I kind of believed in it. I didn't 100%. It's hard to 100% believe in anything that's not true. So at the time, I thought, well, I don't know if this is effective or not, but it seems that's the direction she's going because she doesn't know what to do about this evil spirit in the body. I don't know if it's working or not because she's saying one time it's here and then I said, Chad, all the body left. So when the first entity first left, Ned, got really weird after that. Actually, she called Chad. She's like, "Did we get the body? We had a prayer. Did we get the spirit out?" Because he would be the one that deemed it, and he'd say, "Yes, it left." And then, well, where is it? And then, what is his body dead? Because they thought maybe his body would drop dead, which never happened. So she thought that Charles was dead. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. It takes it, and I'm just visualizing as much as I can. So I remember. Then she said that something like Brandon was involved. It was so dumb. And Brandon was helping get rid of the bodies, something. But anyway, we find out. Then he said, so he kept changing things, the story all the time. Then he would say, oh no, that's not really, because, she obviously found out Charles was alive. Oh, that's not what happened. It was Brandon's father's body that died or something stupid like that. He would always try to put it off, like find an excuse why it didn't work. So when, that first time she said that Charles was going to get in the car accident and die that January, because I remember it was right around my birthday, and then, because it was right after Christmas, and then I said, well, why didn't he die? And then Charles's excuse, which was always Julie Rose's excuse that I heard, was, oh, because of agency, it didn't happen. These people didn't meet up with the right plan, and he didn't go according to plan, so it just fell in. So Chad, that would always be excuse for why things didn't go. He just would lead her along to one. They thought they were always discovering things, and the adversaries getting smarter and smarter, and they were just leading, and it just got stupider and stupider, the story did. And it just got more crazy, and, sometimes I'd go, okay, whatever. And I just kind of blew it off.
Well,
now, there's a huge problem as to when Tylee Ryan is deemed a zombie. I can tell you right now, based off of what I've researched so far, most witnesses are saying that it's somewhere in this timeline right here. That Melanie Gibb will say that she don't remember. The problem with Melanie's testimony is half of it is bull S. So we can't really know the truth. She really seems to want to blame Chad, yet she's not around Chad. She's always around Lori. So what do you guys think? Do you think Melanie Gibb is telling the truth? Who do you think is really leading this cult? We have seen people try to defer the truth of what's happening with this group of people, and we all know it's a cult. It was the very beginning stages of a cult. Of course, you don't have to believe that. So what do you think? Do you think it was a cult? Do you think it was part of the Mormon faith? Or do you think it was just a bunch of malarkey that they made up and was just its own isolated thing? I have to do smaller uploads because they're taking so long to upload. So we're going to end here. I want to say thank you to those who have been very supportive and who have subscribed, liked, comment, given to Patreon at Chasing a Murderer. And I think I got it set up to where you can give a thanks donation on this channel. I hope so. If you like all the work that I do, please show it by subscribing, liking, commenting, hitting the notification bell. And, well, you can also donate if you can afford to do so. Don't forget about these missing faces that we have out there. We still have Dulce still missing, no answers. It's unbelievable because she went missing in broad daylight at a park in public. Love you guys. See you guys soon.